are here today with Albert Gocsman, and we are going to talk cars, aren't we?
Yes.
Yes, excited?
Very.
All right, so this is your first time here.
Yes, it is.
How did you hear about us?
So Alex, one of our members of our anti-stock team group, he's the one that brought me in. He said, hey, you got to go check out PETTIT Racing. They're amazing. They're specialists in rotaries. I'm like, let's go. He built Alex's motor, so I know the car is definitely badass. And you guys definitely, when I got here, I was like, wow, like I was telling you, it's a very old school feel. You know, you could tell that it's been, again, brought up from the foundation roots of someone that really has put a lot of passion into this and is a specialist.
Yes.
So that's definitely, I think, the energy you guys are putting out with, especially with the builds. That's really usually where you get the what's called the bread and butter, is that you could tell, hey, these people really know what they're doing.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for that. That's an enormous compliment.
You're welcome. Wow. And it was great. We did the anti-stock team rally today, which was awesome.
Yeah. I was there too. It was amazing. The kids were elated. A lot of smiling faces today. We gave away little Hot Wheel cars. Maybe we can insert some of the footage of that as well.
For sure, 100%.
That would be nice.
We'll provide all the footage you guys need.
All right, so let's start with your introduction into the car industry.
Yes. So not to make this a 10-hour podcast. Basically, ever since I was a kid, my mom, my grandma, they were all into cars. So I obviously went into naturally genetics, was going to be into cars.
Oh, genetics.
Yeah, like I have the racing gene 100%. I was a huge fan of racing ever since I was a kid. Grew up in Caracas, Venezuela. Did some karting down there. And my mom had separated from my dad from Italy because got a crazy mix. I have Italian, Hungarian, Romanian.
Oh, wow.
And I was born in LA, so I'm American technically.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's been, but it's a good mix. You know, we all have European blood. It comes from everywhere.
Yes.
Right. And so I grew up there, did some karting, and then we moved to Miami. And so basically it was LA, Italy, Caracas, and Caracas, Miami. And it's been 30 years now here.
Oh, wow. Wow. And what was the first project you got into coming here? Was it like getting your first car here and maybe building it from the ground up? Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah. I mean, I'd say that it started, like I said, so karting in Venezuela, then Caracas. When we got here, karting wasn't so much of an option because obviously in the European market, in the European countries and South America, karting is huge. Here in the US, it's not so big, not as big as it is now. It's been growing. And so there wasn't too much karting, and obviously the only stage from that point forward, when you're 3 to 5 years old, you can only go karting to about, it's usually between 5 to about 12.
Okay.
And then from that point forward, you're trying to get into Formula 1. And not to say my mom didn't want that, but and so did I, but unfortunately, like you have to, it really is about money in that point.
Oh, really? That's
it's a lot about money.
Down to
yeah. So that was it. So what I ended up doing was we did a lot of track stuff with a couple of my mom's friends that knew the car world, and she came here for business. She was more into the antique, like fine art business. That was really her specialty. She knew how much I love cars. And that's how it started. Started racing all types of, doing some track days, stuff like that. Homestead obviously was the only track around, and Sebring that we have up north.
Okay.
And
Are you still racing a little bit here and there now?
I'd love to, but since I've got a couple companies, one of which we were going to talk about with
yes. You got to wait for that one.
We have to kind of, unfortunately, you have to separate all that. So right now, money and time and all the spearheading has to be done through that. So I've kind of taken a backseat. And it's expensive.
Yeah.
It's really, you got to throw money at the problem now,
Right.
So,
continuously, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's very expensive, unfortunately.
So let's talk about it.
For sure.
Let's talk about this amazing invention.
The Drakan.
The Drakan.
Yes.
Yeah. So how you thought of it, what made you even decide to do something like that?
For sure.
Yeah.
Not to take any credit. So what happened was there's a gentleman by the name of Shanu. Shanu's out in California. He's an engineer, top of his class. Okay. I grew up watching cars on Top Gear, like the Aero Atom, the K-Trim, the BAC Mono, the KTM Expo now. And we started seeing all these what's called low production, basically street legal race cars, except for the KTM Expo, because that's not street legal.
Okay.
And so he saw the same thing, and about 6 years ago, he started looking at the formula, and a lot of his customers, because he was a dealer for all these companies, he got a lot of experience with them. The problem with those cars, every single one of them, is that they are built like race cars, and they're except for the KTM Expo, is street legal. Those
Street
other
legal.
cars, yeah, or excuse me, that one's a race car. That one's the only one that's not street legal. The other ones are street legal.
Okay.
The problem is that when you put a racing suspension like that in a chassis that's built to race on the track, and you
Okay.
put it on a road that has imperfections, it's not perfectly smooth, you get a lot of the vibrations that just go right through the chassis into the body of the person. And the problem with that is that what nobody mentions, and most of these people that test these cars, like automotive journalists, they never talk about the fact that it's a nightmare. After 30 minutes, you feel like you've been in the gym for 3 hours.
I can imagine.
It beats you
yeah.
up, right? It really beats the shit out of you. And so he said, okay, this is a problem in the industry in these characteristics of these cars.
Okay.
Let's fix that. The other thing that he started seeing was that his customer base was telling him, you know what, man, I want a V8. And we're in the US, right? People want V8s. So even though we're in a roadie shop, that's like sacrilegious. I understand. But in that world, people were willing.
It's okay, we won't beat you up.
Thank you. So one of the problems was that his customers kept on saying, build one with a V8. And he had a lot of experience with another company that he started, which is called Inaugural.
Okay.
And Inaugural, he's got a lot of experience with the Lotus world. He has basically built every single performance and OEM part for that car. If you have a Lotus, you're going to go to him for any type of performance parts.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
he built that, and with that skill set, he used a lot of that base to put it into the experience and the building of the Drakan.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot of foundation on this car. This wasn't just like, I'm going to build an aerial atom with a V8, because a lot of people we show the pictures to,
Right.
immediately they go, oh, that's like an aerial atom. First of all, no.
Right.
There's a lot of differences. It starts with the chassis, it starts with the build itself, the suspension geometry. So there's a lot to it, and obviously, his own money. He put a lot of his own money into this company, and he got to the point. Actually, the car was on Jay Leno's garage.
Oh.
That was the first, because he knew a lot of people in the industry.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
So it got debuted on Jay Leno's garage. Jay Leno loved it, obviously, and he started with
That's
chassis.
great.
Yeah, started with chassis 1, and now we have 9 chassis built to date.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So what I did was I wanted to come in last year. I wanted to have a professional conversation with Shanu, and I said, listen, I'd love to become the Florida dealer. I want the rights to Florida because I've been here for so long.
Naturally.
And I've been building, my other background was also selling supercars and some very extremely rare one-of-ones.
Oh, okay.
So I met a lot of people, obviously, that would be interested in purchasing those.
Yes. And what has it been like? Is everybody like dying to just get in one now?
Okay, awesome question. Everybody who sees the car that I show it to, first thing that, we tell them, they ask me, where's the car? So I have to explain. Well, we have our company car that we have our name on. It's in California. It's the yellow car. It's a Ferrari fly yellow car. It's got the LS3, because there was one car that was actually built with an LS7. And that was pretty awesome. Built custom for the chassis, for the customer, as a chassis car, not as a turnkey car.
Okay.
And right now we're in the middle of getting that car down here. Actually, we want to film a whole documentary driving the car from California to Miami.
Oh, that'll be great.
Proving that, hey, not only will you be able to drive it more than 30 minutes, and it'll be a joy and an amazing car to drive and a full raw driver's car.
And it is what you say it is.
100%.
Right.
We're going to drive it cross country and prove, hey, not even just 3 or 4 hours, we're driving it across the country.
Yes. I think
So
that's
that's
an awesome way to prove the performance.
Yeah.
Just by demonstrating.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the stage we're in. Right now we also are inviting some investors to come in because we want to do a set of driver films. That's actually my other background, is filming. Automotive filming.
Oh, wow.
So yeah.
The man right here.
Yeah.
Jack of all trades and
You have to be.
master of all.
Yeah. You have. When it's your passion, though, that's, I think, what counts. Because when it's your passion, you're not. You might be killing yourself at it, but you're not regretful about it. You're not. It's not taking away. You're adding to your life.
Oh, I agree. I agree with that 100%.
And so what I was saying was, what I was thinking, which would be amazing, would be imagine, I'd love to have maybe one of your customers come in and say, hey, you know what? I'd love to do a rotary with you guys. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
A rotary powered Drakan.
Yeah.
That would be, imagine a 4 rotary or a 3 rotary. That would be insane.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane. Well, you've come to the right place for something like that to happen.
Exactly.
Definitely. So we can probably definitely give that some more thought and make it happen.
Make it happen.
Yeah. So where can we find you? Where can we follow you? It sounds like you're doing a lot of online things as well, promoting and things of that nature. Where can you be found?
Sure. We're on Twitter as Flatout Motor Cars. The company is Flatout Motor Cars LLC.
LLC.
But we decided not to put the LLC in there because it makes the name really long.
Oh, okay.
So for Twitter and for Instagram, same exact thing.
Flatout Motor Cars, guys.
Yep, Flatout Motor Cars. And we're going to start a YouTube channel. We haven't gotten there yet because we want to film this whole documentary before we go.
Yes, that'd be amazing introduction to maybe even future inventions that you have in mind. I'm sure you have many.
Well, so I love you said that because we want to expand the market on this car, right? There's only 9 ever built in the world right now. So the world doesn't really know about the car, even though it got featured in Jay Leno's garage. Matt Farah drove it. It hasn't been put out there. And the problem today is the level of consumption. Everybody right now is just on this roll of like, just give me whatever you can, I'll consume it. So the speed of the consumption is complicating a product that needs to get out there. It has to be consistently put out there. Every week, we got to be doing content.
Oh, I see.
So that's why it's so important for us to get our hands on that car for us, you know.
Oh, yeah. So everything depends on it right now.
Yeah.
So I'd like to ask you, how did you come up with the name?
Yeah, so
I love the name. By the way, can I tell you that? I love
fantastic.
The name.
So we obviously you're talking about the car or the company?
The actual name.
The actual name of the car.
Yes.
That would be a Shanu question, which is I did ask him about it. It's funny because when I first spoke to him, I thought it was pronounced Drakan, like Macan. I really thought, figuring, from the Porsche world, that type of a mid-engine platform. That's what it was. He's like, Albert, it's not pronounced. It's Drakan.
Drakan.
Not Drakan.
Okay.
I'm like, but he's like, Drakan actually could have been pretty cool too. I'm like, the next model, you know?
Yeah, so it's Drakan, ladies and gentlemen, not Drakan.
Like Dragon.
Yeah.
Is kind of where he was, where he got a bit. But it was inspired by something that it really, what it came down to was coming up with a name that people can obviously pronounce.
Yes.
That looks good on paper and an actual physical product.
Yes, it does.
So, yeah.
Perfect.
And you guys, I wanted to ask you like some questions, So how long you guys have been in, I think, 20 plus years, I think it is? Or
Yes.
20 years, right? Or 20
plus.
Wow.
Yeah.
Building rotaries, specializing rotaries.
Yes. Mazda,
right.
Yep.
That's amazing. And again,
that's a specialty here.
It's funny. On the way here, I was talking to Alex. I was like, "Oh, is that a race port or street port?" He's like, "No. That's Avery's like specialty port." I'm like,
"Yeah,
okay, watch out." That's because it takes a lot to really understand the rotary platform.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he just is able to do it in his sleep at this point, with 2 decades under his belt, 2 decades plus, I should say. So
that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's very cool. Yeah. And obviously you guys, he told me also, Alex told me, generator!
This is your interview. You're interviewing me.
Okay, so ask away.
No, you're interviewing me.
Okay, so about Petite racing.
About whatever questions you have about this spot.
Awesome.
This is a way of saying Chanel doesn't know to tell you everything.
It's all good. Book of knowledge.
She's in training. She's another 9 days.
Right.
Today's the first. She's on a 10-day mission.
Yeah.
That's good.
So
That's
all right.
Cool. Awesome. Dude, Avery, like I said, Alex couldn't talk more about you. It's fantastic that, we actually have a real, because as you know, in Miami and Florida, rotary shops are not something that are a dime a dozen, right? It's hard to find a good specialist that actually knows his stuff.
The truth of the matter is I'm a student of Cameron. Cameron Worth is the brains behind this operation.
Okay.
And I'm a metal fabricator.
Okay.
Cameron Worth, he won the championship back in '98. He was the last American to drive an FD with a factory sponsorship across that checkered line.
Wow.
He's it.
That's
and
amazing.
The same parts that he used to win that race back in the days are the same parts that we still make and sell today.
Right. That's amazing.
They're proven.
Right.
They work.
Yeah, race proven.
It won.
Big difference than street proven or...
It won. It won. We make them efficiently. We've made them for as long as the car exists.
Wow. That's amazing. So that's obviously the pedigree and the history came from...
If you look at 10 RX-7s in magazines, online, 7 of them have our parts on them.
Wow.
AST can, some little thing.
Right. Yeah, any part.
We made solutions for those cars
That's
a long
amazing.
time ago that still work today.
It's amazing. So your customer base obviously has probably just kept on growing throughout the years, only because
Yeah. You know, like the older
foundation.
guys that bought the car when they were new, and, you know, we have some of those clients still. And then there's the young kids, you know, like Alex that, you know, played video games and learned
Right.
about the car then. So now, you know, we went from being like an aftermarket tuning shop to a restoration shop.
Wow. And I wanted to ask you about, can we talk about that port? Because that was really interesting.
The port is not, I mean, I really appreciate Alex giving me credit like that, but it's not me. It's Cameron.
It is Cameron.
Cameron and JR.
Right.
They've been wrenching on these cars as a team together for 15, 20 years.
Yeah. And in the racing world, that's a lot.
They're a dynamic duo. They don't fabricate. I'm a metal fabricator.
Right.
I build what does not exist.
Right. Which is a no-joke trade. I mean, talk about jack of all trades. That's something that actually now is going away. There's so many people that are not getting involved in actually creating and fabricating and
Yeah, because
learning from guys like you that can actually, you know, actually teach them.
I can't find a student right now.
That's a big problem. So that's I think something that's interesting that but it gives you guys that much more value,
You would think.
right? Well, I mean, of course. I'm probably sure why one of the reasons why you guys have been working together with Cameron, right? With
Yeah, I've been around Cameron for probably going on 15 years.
That's
On and off.
in Miami and Florida. That's pretty good. That's a good track record.
Yeah, I've been around him for about 15 years, building the parts, and I mean, I could work on the cars, but I don't. It's
Right.
not my thing. It's not my specialty. I'm
fabrication.
a metal fabricator.
Awesome. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. And can I ask you something? Because something I've always wondered. I know obviously the rotary platform has always been famous for the twin turbos, single turbos. Let me ask you a question, because I'm a big I love superchargers, right? Root style superchargers. Is there a reason why there hasn't been too many companies out there that actually make like a root style bolt-in, awesome small version of what you would consider?
It's funny you mention that. When the RX-8 first came out, it was underpowered.
Right.
You know, the RX-8 had a great chassis. So during that era, you know, the RX-8 and the MX-5 NC, they both shared a very similar architecture.
Right.
So these cars had super stiff chassis,
Right.
great double wishbone suspensions on all four corners.
Correct.
And you know, the MX-5, the Miata, most popular car,
On the face of the planet. One of.
most popular car on any racetrack
Yeah.
on any given Sunday. And the RX-8, I mean, I'm not sure if you watched Jeremy Clarkson talk
course.
about the RX-8, how he's sliding it around, and he's talking about a committee. Anyhow, the car handles great, but it was underpowered.
Right.
So we, Pettit Racing, designed a supercharger kit for the car.
Oh, so you do have a.
We used a specific supercharger,
Okay.
and we designed a beautiful kit. It was all, in fact, the kit was designed right before I showed up.
Okay.
And I think I might have welded together, did some machining and some welding on the last kit. And this is what happened. So Cam designed a beautiful supercharger kit, and like, I can't pronounce the name of the company that manufactured the supercharger itself,
Right.
the actual unit. But after we got everything sorted out, they discontinued that particular housing.
Wow. But you guys, as a fabricator, you could probably create your own. Or you know what? You could use auto rotor.
We can. But this, you know, Cam was just upset at the time.
Right.
And I think he became disenchanted with that. You know,
got frustrated.
He built a RX-8, all carbon fiber,
Wow.
super light, had a 3-rotor. It was a monster car, and for some reason, the Grand Am series, I guess the Rolex Cup was bought by Grand Am, and somehow they disqualified him.
Because of this.
There's an article in D Sport magazine, or maybe Grassroots, one of those magazines about the car, and it's, you know, we'll put a link in the description to a link. It's a serious. So Cam builds the car, and it's dope. He gets disqualified, and he winds up selling the car, and he's sad. So now he's working on the supercharger, right? And then they discontinued the supercharger, so now he's double sad. The castings are on the shelf, the molds, everything. But yo, if y'all say you want the supercharger, I'll go ahead and 3D print plugs, and we'll start making it again. But we're gonna need 1,000 comments talking about the supercharger. But we'll bring it back.
That would be a world first, 100%.
A second. We did it one time already.
One time, but I'm saying as a non-prototype, actual physical product that can be, mass-produced and pumped out and.
Well,
sold
you know
as a
about the
package.
lost PLA or the lost wax? You know about lost wax casting? You make the
Never
part out of wax, and then you could use a certain procedure and turn it into aluminum. But you
Okay.
got to have the wax blank.
Right.
So now we can 3D print the wax,
Yeah, I was going to say 3D printing.
and I have a 3D printer.
Okay. Awesome. That's fantastic. That's what we'd like to hear.
But
That's the type of
we
stuff.
need you guys to request a supercharger before we get serious about it. Like if the phone was ringing, and you guys wanted a supercharger, you would have it. But I don't know if you want it.
That's true. That's the only thing that I know, that I think would supercharge, and that's kind of a battle that I've always fought with some people that I've spoken to. It's always that, yeah, but turbos are better, and I'm like, wait a minute, there's a division. It's different, exactly. And I think that they've gotten a pretty bad rap now that with the Chargers, the Hellcats, the Demon 170. I mean, you could see the 1,000 horsepower, 1,025 horsepower from the factory, right? And it's instant power, right? And everybody, not that I love EVs, I think they're soulless machines that should be all put away for life, but a lot of people, that acceleration, they get hooked on that.
Yeah.
So
100% torque at
zero.
0 RPM.
What more do you want? It's instant power. I mean, on the rotary and on the Mazda, specifically the FD and the FC platforms, because I see an FC, obviously I see the FDs, and you guys even do the original. I mean, you go all the way back to first generation.
Yeah. I mean, we've been working on the rotary engine since the 12A. And
Wow.
Cam's original race car, after he sold the Ford Pinto that he drove at the high school, he replaced it with an RX-3, and it had a 12A. And they're racing an RX-3 currently. I mean,
Okay.
it's not the same one, but it's got a 12A. The same guys that were on the Rolex Cup team,
Right.
they're busy doing it,
Right.
and we're winning. The old guys
they're
are out
kicking
there
ass.
winning.
Yeah. they're kicking
Yeah,
ass.
still.
Okay, next thing I have to ask you about, because everybody's been talking about it for the past couple of years, Mad Mike, and some of these other guys in Australia. We all know that Australia and Puerto Rico are the two main hubs for all of rotaries. The most insane rotaries. I think there's a guy now with a 12 rotary, from what I remember. I think it's
Yeah, we saw that on Rob Dom.
Yeah, there you go.
Had that 12 rotor engine on his show.
custom built. Everything is literally from the ground up, and what he's doing is, he's obviously throwing money at the
But
project.
here's the deal. The typical reciprocating piston engine has a whole bunch of moving parts.
Right.
And the 13B has 3 major,
Nothing.
moving parts.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned Puerto Rico, you mentioned down under, the guys down there in New Zealand. Now, if you think about it, New Zealand and Australia, they're pretty far from the mainland. So those guys got to make their own stuff.
Right.
We all learned about Burt Munro on his motorcycle, making
Yep.
all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, the rotary powered motorcycle.
So if you really think about it, no. Burt
Oh.
Munro was the land speed guy back in the days. The
soft
world's
flats.
fastest Indian.
Yeah, the soft flats.
The
yeah.
movie came out
Correct.
recently.
Correct.
So yeah,
My mistake.
people down there make their own stuff, and we know that Puerto Rico is no super rich country. So those guys figured out if they want to go fast, they want to use a rotary engine because it's so
So
simple.
cheap. Yeah.
Now the thing about the rotary engine is you got to know how to wrench on it.
Right.
You can tune that engine, and you could basically destroy it, during a qualifying session.
Correct.
And if you're slick, you're gonna have a carpet kicker inside your toolbox. So that night, you're gonna take the engine inside the hotel room. You're gonna peel back the carpet. You're gonna rebuild it right there.
That's
what I
the
mean?
beauty of it. That's really, I think, one of the most amazing parts of the rotary.
The
is that-
rotary engine will be the last internal combustion engine known to man.
Right. Yeah.
When you can't get lithium stuff for the batteries,
Right.
and we're in some post-apocalyptic era, we're gonna see internal combustion engines being run on biodiesel.
Correct.
We're gonna see all
E-fuels.
kinds of stuff.
E-fuels now, synthetic fuels right now is #1 right now with Porsche. They're pushing it, so that's going to be, trust me, I'm not worried about the EVs and all the electric bullshit that's being pumped down everybody's throats. I'm good there. I don't think that's going to be, and the infrastructure is already failing. You see the dealers, they're all going back on all the numbers that they were talking about selling. They're all like, yeah, we can't sell these things. Ford is already on that. Chevy's on that. Obviously, Tesla's different because that's all they sell and they have their customer base. But so last thing we have to mention, because this is like, when you're talking about rotors, you cannot mention the 787B. One of my all-time Can-Am most badass race cars of all time.
Yeah.
Car number 5.
Outlaw.
55, excuse me. Have you tried to maybe experiment a little bit with maybe offering something that could be close to obviously someone that could pay for it? Because I know it's expensive.
All right, so
because hearing that, man, that's like
here's the deal.
Formula One levels of decibels that just
We're probably not going to see too many internal combustion sports cars in the upcoming years.
right.
So, there's going to be a vacuum. I put together a plan to build a bespoke Camaro.
Okay. Rotary powered?
No. I put together a plan to build a bespoke Camaro, and I decided not to do it in order to build a 20BZ.
Right.
So the 20BZ, it's powered by a 20B engine, three-rotor engine,
Right.
but it looks like a 240Z.
Well, isn't that? Well, I don't want to say too much. Secrets, project secrets. I don't want to.
So, back in the days, it was, 2016, I was invited over to Tampa to build a 240 for SEMA.
Right.
And the plan was to build an all carbon fiber or all fiberglass body and have a special
Bespoke engine, something.
it was
one-on-one.
it was a Nissan project, and it was going to be based on the VQ engine,
Okay.
or maybe the Skyline engine or the GTR engine. I don't remember.
Yeah, VQ. That's the VQ. That's all.
But we I built the car, and I suggested that we just rip the body off of that OK 240Z, and we just put that body on top of an MX-5.
That'd be sick.
Right?
Yeah, you're changing the footprint.
Well, what we're doing is we're taking the shape of this 240Z and we're putting it on top of this super stiff, proven chassis.
Right.
That's the most popular race car on any given Sunday.
Right.
So now you got this huge aftermarket, and because the RX-8 and that specific MX-5 were designed based on the same architecture, it's begging for a rotary engine.
Yep.
The rotary engine fits right in there. It shares some of the same parts. So my plan was to offer the 20BZ offer this bespoke Mazda-based 240 in a 2-rotor, a 3-rotor, and a 4-rotor,
That would be sick.
based on the parts that the Australians are building.
That would be amazing. That would definitely change the game, right? The name of the game here, especially in the U.S. But
I know what it will do.
But it's difficult because of the kind of the question mark that you have as a customer, like potential customers, previous customers, current customers, right? That's hard to manage sometimes.
I don't know. I don't know what the problem is. It's to me, it's just a bunch of metal that I got to put together. That's all.
That's such a fabricator answer. It's just like, what are you talking about? We just got to weld this and we're good to go. We got it.
I mean,
No, I'm joking with you, man. I'm just saying, that's a very simplistic answer, which is
if you
hilarious.
really think about the difference between a mechanic and a metal fabricator, the mechanic essentially has instructions for most of the things they do.
Right.
They can refer to a book. There's a time.
Right.
And I have to basically solve problems all the time, but that's what I do.
On the fly.
I'm trained to solve problems.
Correct.
I mean, I run across technicians all the time that they're going to run a hose because they don't want to take the time to bend the hard line. You know what I mean? And I'm excited to
Right.
make parts out of metal.
Right.
And to them, it's an inconvenience. To most people that want to go racing, welding is an inconvenience.
Right. Yeah, it's part of I guess that.
I celebrate
field.
welding.
Yeah, and most welders today. I mean, I'm sure you follow some of the guys out there. There's a guy by the name of Xander. I think he created the welds and the intake manifold for the Tuar. I mean, he does titanium like shit that I just found about him last week. Just talking about
I
welding.
forgot what year it was, but Xander used to work here.
No way.
He used to work here.
Wow.
And I sold the job, and it was a big block V8 drag car.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I built the side that had the steering column.
Right.
And he built the side that didn't have the steering column.
Right.
And I think that was maybe his first real fabrication.
Right.
First real fabrication job as far as building a nice exhaust system. and he took it to a whole nother level.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So there's a lot of, again, there's a lot of creativity and problem solving that you have to have in order to even think about, hey, you know what, let's make something out of zero.
Yeah.
A lot like an architect, but much more complicated. You know, there's an engineering aspect to it, because especially with manifolds, you have to make sure they can flow correctly, put them on a flow bench, make sure they can actually, and some people have really weird, you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I do.
Because I've listened, just mentioning, right, the other day there was a guy that, you know, these rat rods, there's a lot of rat rods out there now, a lot of rat rod projects, right? And there was a guy that had an old Dodge, it was like a 1950, basically a semi. And what they did was they have the entire manifold was these square, it looked like blocks. I'm like, there's no way that's the manifold for the entire turbo system. And I thought it was just the crate to hold the entire engine, almost like a motor mount.
Okay.
But that would route to the top. I'm like, no, that's the manifold. I'm like, how are you flowing a 90-degree, like how is that possible? He's like, well, the inside, we took the inside and we tubular in. I'm like, okay, you put tubes inside a square shape. That's not an easy thing to do. That was pretty impressive. And it looks radical. So I think, again, to what you're talking about, to create this type of projects from zero, it takes a lot of, ingenuity.
It does.
I think fabricators like you guys, I mean, it's people I don't think respect it, and people that know respect it, and people that are like, oh yeah, that's just fabrication, anybody can fabricate. No, try taking your project like the Twara, right? Or the Twatra, whatever I hate that name of that stupid thing. That's a perfect example. I mean, I'm all about those projects. They're amazing, but it's not like you can mass produce that either, right? That's for the one of ones.
I'm not familiar with that project.
Oh, the Twatra, it's the car that did 330 plus miles per hour. It's an SSC. It's a company called by SSC.
Oh, and Xander made the exhaust system? Yeah.
That one. Insane. I mean, and they not to talk shit about them, but they really fucked up that whole land speed record that they're going after, which I think they injected some drama.
You know, I overheard Cameron talking to a client the other day, and Cameron was basically saying, you can't handle that much horsepower in that car.
Right.
And, there's something to be said about bragging rights in this whole car world.
Right.
And, people talk about how much horsepower their car makes. And, from Cam's perspective, yeah, he's right. The car has so much tire,
Correct.
and you can only put down so much power.
Right.
And maybe you can put some traction control on there, whatever.
Right. Standalone systems, ABSs.
But the customer wants more horsepower than he needs. Why? Right. He's trying to impress somebody.
I think I'm a big believer in him. I think that pushing the limit is always important. And, you have companies like Koenigsegg with the Jesko or the Jesko, as he calls it.
I know, but pushing the limit of horsepower is great if you're on an engine dyno.
Right.
But it's probably more important to push the limits of how big of a brake you can fit on the car.
Well, that's another one. That's like number one.
But the customers call and they ask about the ridiculous horsepower, and they don't ask about the big brakes because they want to talk about how much horsepower the car makes.
Right.
And they don't think about how much it weighs. Power to weight ratio means
huge.
a lot more than horsepower.
100%.
But we're just trained to talk about how much horsepower.
Right.
That's what gets people excited.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say to talk about that. It's funny. Have you heard of a channel by any chance? They do a lot of muscle car, like Restomod, LA Autotopia. Sean?
Oh yeah, I've seen that. I saw the episode where the guy's
where
brakes
crashed.
failed. Yeah,
that's why I was bringing that up. That's exactly.
Yeah.
So imagine, and he made a huge, and that video went viral as hell. And he's like, look, guys, you know what? We got to talk about something. And they made a whole presentation of like, look, we got to talk about braking. We need to talk about brakes. This is, and he broke his teeth. You saw the crash. It was insane.
I hate to laugh, but
no, it was. Listen, the guy could have also that also shows another lack of thing that people don't talk about, which is driver 101 actual driving performance, and actually knowing how the dynamics of a chassis and what it's capable of, and how to actually control that and take that to, let's say, the chassis levels. There's not enough of that. That guy could have easily. I mean, I know it's easy to sit here and say he could have easily prevented it. No, but I watched it 10 times in a row. There was so many different directions. If the brakes fail, okay, calm down. Do not lose your cool.
He stayed cool
for a little bit, and then he lost it when he's like, okay, I'm just going to go ram right into the van, because I looked at it. If you look at it from a race car driver's perspective, all he had to do, and it would have damaged the car a little more, he just had to jump over that.
Did he downshift?
No. He tried putting it in park. You hear the thing, and he's like, and then he just freaked out, you know. And it's like, you got to be cool. He could have banked to the left, jumped over the side marker, the side, what's it called, the middle of the curve, and yeah, I would have fucked up the suspension. But guess what? He could have, and then you could have slowed down.
He didn't rear end somebody, did he?
Oh yeah, he did.
He just ran right into the back of the van.
Into the van.
For some reason I remember it different.
It was at the light. The van was at the light, and that was why they all kind of freaked out.
I'm probably mixing it up with some action movie because it was
radical.
Yeah,
I watched that.
Intense.
I'm like, fuck. So anyway, after that he took it upon himself with as many followers as he has now. He said, look, you know what, guys? If you're going to build anything more than 400 horsepower, please upgrade the brakes, especially if we're talking about a 67, 80s, 90s car, even the 2000s. And we have the brakes out there. You know, the Hellcat, you can go get a junked Hellcat and get a 335. Yeah, the rear ending of the van.
Yeah, horrific accident.
Yeah,
Got it mixed up with an action movie. It was so crazy.
Imagine. And it's funny because I was just hanging out with him back in November when we took a customer to test drive the Drakan. So I said, dude, I'm going to be in LA. Like, can we hang out? He's like, yeah, I'm inviting you to a huge car show. So we went. I talked to him about it. He's like, dude, that thing was... And I did tell him the other thing. I said, yeah, man, and you guys went out there without race harnesses. That was the other thing I was going to bring up. How can you build 1,000+ anything without race harnesses? A belt? Dude, that was made in the 60s where they didn't even know the forces that are involved in an accident. Like, how could you not put... And he's like, I know, dude. I'm never going to step foot inside another car without race harnesses. That will be a...
Excess. It's excess.
I think the safety aspect of it is where people skip.
Always.
And it's like... And no person that's been on the track, any person on the track would have been like, I'm not getting in that fucking 1,000+ horsepower muscle car resto mod with like stock brake, like, but he never had that issue. He never had that problem. And then when he finally had that issue, it was like, okay, it wakes him up. So last thing we were mentioning about the whole thing where, yeah, the car actually hit a van. It was a very radical, very violent accident. We were talking about the fact that nobody does actually performance brakes with their performance build, which is ridiculously stupid. And he himself, like I said, I actually got to hang out with Sean, super cool guy. He says, I will never step foot again inside any car that doesn't have race harnesses or a bigger brake kit with anything more than 600 horsepower.
Safety first.
Thanks for having me at the shop, man. It's been awesome.
Thanks for coming.
For sure. And we'll talk more about the superchargers.
All right.
Awesome.